Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lisi's News, Views, and To-Dos this week. My name is Robyn Addis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer here at Legal Internet Solutions Incorporated. And this week, I am so happy to be joined by my friend, James Barclay, who is the CEO of Passle. Welcome, James.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here. I've watched many of these, so I'm excited to be on.
Oh, good. Thank you. Keep talking up our live stream. Well, I'm so excited to have James here for a few reasons. Well, I'll stop talking about you in the third person. I'm so excited to have you here for a few reasons. One, I enjoy chatting with you. And two, I'm excited about a lot of the work that you're doing with Passle, and I'm interested to sort of help evangelize your product because I think it's really important and really kind of cool. And it's definitely unique in the marketplace. So I'm excited to sort of dive in.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So if you're like James and you're a regular watcher of our live stream, then you know the format. We're going to talk about news, what's going on in James's world, what's happening with Passle and legal marketing and all of that exciting stuff. Views, what he sees happening as a trusted advisor to so many of his clients, not just nationally, but internationally as well, what he sees evolving in the market. And then to-dos, what he thinks we should be looking ahead to think about. So let's kick it right off, James. What's your news that you'd like to share with our audience?
When I first saw this, I thought this would be like a counselling session. I was quite looking forward to telling you all my news and how you were going to help me, but I understand I'm going to talk about work. So for us, it's, there's obviously huge trends that are going on. The big one over the last, since 1995, and that's how long I've been working with the guys who set Passle up, is this shift to digital. So this ain't new news, but the shift to digital is particularly important, I think, in legal, and has been accelerated through COVID. And now we're in post-COVID, and we're potentially, or we are really heading into headwinds economically, and that focuses everyone's minds. That focuses all, and I know everyone will be going through budgets right now, and they'll be looking at next year, and they'll be going, "Oh, we're gonna, there's economic bad news coming. What are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
What we see in legal, particularly, and we work primarily with all of our clients are professional services, so primarily law firms, big ones like Reed Smith, Ropes and Gray, Catton, medium-sized ones like Michael Best, and really small ones as well. Actually, we've got 12 guys up in Buffalo, New York, who use Passle. All of them have the same thing in common, which is, and frankly, all law firms have the same thing in common, which they spend an awful lot of money on physical presence, and they understand the value of physical presence. I mean, one of our clients in the UK is 300 years old this year. So wow. Resilient businesses, right? I mean, I'm never going to tell a law firm they don't know how to do things because they're in business for a really long time and most of them are millionaires. So they're not too bad at it. However, this shift is important for law firms because they've really nailed physical presence. You go into a law firm lobby and they're beautiful. And the desks are incredible. And then you go up to their meeting rooms, and the furniture in a meeting room in a law firm is probably worth more than the furniture in my apartment by a long way. So there's artwork on the walls. They understand the impact and the influence, and that's not by accident. They're doing it very deliberately. They're doing it for their brand, and they're doing it to establish their knowledge to some degree. Like, come here, you're in a safe space. No one's been